Would you feel as motivated if you found out the majority of products you use today are being tested on animals? Animal testing is the use of animals in experiments or research for general safety of products. The animals that are generally used are rats, fish, mice, birds, and sometimes cats or dogs. It's very important to know about this because it's very common today still. It's good to be informed and to take moral action. Scientific routine is a major part why this is still going on, and that means that it's the first option scientists have. It's a method of research. It's the first option they have, meaning they're asked to get from point A to point B and get the results or the data for the experiments. They're not really asked to re-examine those methods, being animal testing. The Animal Welfare Act, which was passed in 1966, only covers less than 1 million, which is about roughly 5%, and leaves 25 million still being tested. And according to the Animal Implant Health Inspection Service in 2004, out of 1,600,000 are put into painful procedures. 300,000 are put into painful procedures as well, but they're drugs, meaning they're not going to feel the pain, the physical pain, but they're still going to go into some sort of mental risking states. And about 100,000 are put into painful procedures with no drugs, which is very, very bad. And overly forced pain is obviously the biggest issue here, and especially physically. There's forced feeding, food and water deprivation. There's also inflictions of wounds, burns, and pain, and that's usually for remedies or the healing processes, how long it takes, etc. There's carbon dioxide asphyxiation for animals as well, and that's usually for a lung examination or for the respiratory system to take in sort of measurements. There's also neck breaking and decapitation, but that's very rare, although it does still happen. And not only physically, but they're also going to be affected mentally, and it's due to the excessive procedures. One animal is not just used for one experiment or one test and then let go. Usually animals are put into sort of these extreme long period tests and constant maltreatment, which is not good for their mental health. Also, results vary because both species are very different, humans and the one that's being used, any sort of species really. And it's because it's different metabolism, it's different organ systems, there's also different circumstances. Body sizes also matter a lot, especially when it comes to time constraints. A bigger body is going to probably take longer for a reaction of a chemical to take place. For the mental states, existing conditions, meaning a group of mice and a group of people, if they're both tested, it's not going to be a symmetric reaction because the human body is a lot more complex than the mice, meaning it could differ, and it's not always going to be what you're looking for. And then the overall solution would be the alternative testing methods, and the main one would be in vitro, which means in glass testing. You take any sort of human body cell, you put it in a petri dish, and then you inject the chemical. You have to be very careful with the portions, and then you probably get you obviously get the reaction, and it's actually a lot more accurate than animal testing, and it's a lot faster. There's also microdosing, which is taking the small doses of any sort of body fluid and then putting it into analyzation, and it's usually blood. Then it's analyzed and see the results, and it's the same idea. And the major objections for animal testing would be that animal research is regulated. That's not really true because there's only one regulation in the United States that was passed in 1966. That's the Animal Welfare Act, which leaves 95% of all the animals unprotected that are still being tested today. Another objection would be that vaccines tested on animals that have been approved before were tested on animals. That's true, although does not mean that the other options for research method were blocked. They still could work. That was just the option they decided to take. They could have used another method and would have still been approved. And then the obvious benefits for this change would be it's a lot less expensive, and you do get better results. And what I mean by less expensive, it's because for animal testing, it's a big industry, which means there's a lot of breeding facilities just for that, which take a lot of money, because it's just for research. So you can actually take that money that you're using for that and put it into research if we change from that. So that would be another benefit. And then one example of it, animal research going wrong, and for the objections about the vaccines, is because a sleeping pill, thalidomide, actually had 10,000 birth defects on humans after it was consumed, and that actually was animal tested prior to its release to the public. Also, another drug, arthritis drug called Vioxx, it was tested on mice, and it did protect the heart, and did have the result they were hoping for, but actually affected 27,000 humans after it was consumed after it was released to the public. And some of the specific actions we can take, sort of any consumer really, would be to take any cruelty-free sort of products. Just look for those. They're usually going to have a little stamp, especially cosmetics. You can also educate others, and you can contact your laboratories, which there's 5 main laboratories in the United States. That would be SNDL, Care Research, Harian, TRS Labs, and Covance. You can actually type that in Google and it'll pop up right away, all 5 of them, and then you can contact them, write a statement, and you can also contact your U.S. representative and encourage them to support the Humane Cosmetics Act, which protects about the left 25 million animals that are still being tested today. Thank you.